Let's bring in Zeke Miller now from Washington, D.C. He's a CBSN political contributor and White House correspondent for Time. Zeke, a lot of great stuff in there to get into. One of the things, Trump did more listening, Scott said, than talking, and that he wasn't trying to change his mind going into it. What was the White House trying to get out of this, and what was Senator Scott trying to get out of this meeting?
Well, certainly the White House was trying to put the events of last month, the Charlottesville response, and the president's sort of bungled statements and then bungled effort to clean it up and sort of stepping on his own foot in the past. And obviously it was an important visual for them to show him sitting there with Senator Scott, and also an opportunity for them to try to turn the page on it. And for Senator Scott, it was an opportunity for him to share his very personal experience with the president, as he discussed there, and then also to talk about the issues that are important to him and are important to all Republicans and all Americans with the president, and try to sort of sound him out on that. It's a first step. It doesn't sort of this does not mean that that Charlottesville is going away anytime soon. But for the White House, it was an important symbolic step, a sign that certainly the people around the president himself, maybe even want to sort of try to set that in the past and to move forward from there.
You say symbolic step, and we even heard in his own words that obviously Trump had reflected on his Charlottesville comments, but that he didn't believe that Trump had regained his moral authority yet.
Yeah, certainly. That's a really interesting point there from Senator Scott, where he thinks that there's a lot more work left for the president to do on the substance of the matter, whether it be the response to the next incident of whether it be white supremacist or neo-Nazi violence or protests, or more broadly just the president's tone in general towards minorities, people of color, other communities that have been disenfranchised or otherwise marginalized in the past, where the president has sometimes painted with a very broad brush. And at times during the campaign in particular, sort of used the fear of the other to his own political advantage. I think Senator Scott sort of said, this is the president saying that's not where his heart is, but there's a difference between where, sometimes there's not much of a difference between using something for political advantage and where your heart actually is at the end of the day.
Right. One of the other issues, we heard Scott say that the president made the deal in regards to raising the debt ceiling, the short-term raise of the debt ceiling. He made that deal in part to unify the country. What do you hear in a comment like that from Scott?
I think that's maybe a little bit of revisionist history, sort of, or wishful thinking on the part of Republicans, where that this was not a slap in the face to their leadership, either Mitch McConnell or Paul Ryan, which is how those leaders interpreted it. They are still, according to people close to them, very upset by the way that they were sort of blindsided by the president. They felt that they got rolled by the president of their own party, Democratic leaders who now have a lot of leverage going into some of the key legislative fights in the fall. Maybe that's how Republicans want to view it as a sign of unity, and obviously when it comes to a disaster response, unity is an important feature there. But that's certainly not how Republican leadership is feeling at the moment.
Well, if it is unity, there was more unity on Wednesday. President Trump hosted a bipartisan group of lawmakers at the White House to discuss a tax overhaul and DACA. Here's a clip from the president during that meeting.
President, conservatives are skeptical of this new approach with Democrats. What would you tell them? Why have Leader Pelosi and Senator Schumer over tonight? What's your message for skeptics?
Well, I'm a conservative, and I will tell you I'm not skeptical, and I think that if we can do things in a bipartisan manner, that'll be great. We'll see what we can do, and if it works out, great, and if it doesn't work out, great. Hopefully we'll be able to do it anyway as Republicans, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
So what obligation does the president have, if any, to Republicans to justify his deals and meetings with Democrats?
Particularly when it comes to tax reform, I mean, that's a real choice that Republicans in the White House are facing in the coming months. Is, do they want to try to do this in reconciliation, or can they even do it through that process, or do they want to do it with the 60-vote threshold in the Senate? And that's really where the big sticking point is, because the 60-vote threshold will obviously require some Democratic votes, and even with the 51-vote margin in the Senate, given where the Republican caucus is anything but unified,
right.
There are a lot of divisions there. They might need Democratic votes anyway. So that's just the president responding to the realities of the situation. But he does feel a need. He didn't say he's a conservative. He is worried about sending the signal that he is just, some Republicans always fear that the Republican Party is his adoptive party. That's not where he's been in the past. If you go back to his comments over decades, He's been a Democrat before, so he needs to be able to reassure the base of the party, Republican leaders, that he's broadly with them, even if he's cutting specific deals with Democrats.
And one other thing the president said, that taxes for the wealthy, if they have to go higher, they go higher. What are the possible costs for the president of a tax increase on the rich?
The question is, can he ever even get that through a Republican Congress? That's
right.
Not what Republicans are talking about. If he were to propose that, that might be the sort of thing that would be stripped out. But it's possible. It may be, some rich folks do see their taxes increase to become some changes to deductions. But more broadly, the main focus of the tax reform that's really on the table is corporate tax reform. It's bring down the corporate tax rate, and they're not really sure how to pay for it. It's possible we even see a package that comes out that doesn't really even touch the personal income taxes or all that much, and may skirt some of the major issues that Republicans have been trying to do and change to deductions in the personal income tax for middle-income Americans for a decade now. So it is an interesting sort of sign. It's largely one of those a flag he's putting up to try to build some bipartisan support, but that hasn't translated to the policy side of things just yet.
All right, Zeke Miller from Washington, D.C. Zeke, thank you.
Thank you.